Today I'm going to show you how to perform a fecal flotation technique. This is a very common technique that's used in veterinary medicine for detecting coccidian oocysts and also the various types of eggs from trematodes, cestodes, and nematodes. So it's not an unusual procedure that's used both for large animals and also small animals. Today what we're going to be doing is looking at some bison fecal samples, and I'm going to show you how those samples can be floated. And so I'm going to simply remove the fecal sample, and I'm going to then weigh it on a scale that allows me to distribute about 3 grams of fecal material into this plastic cup. And we typically use 3 grams samples because we found that it is effective in detecting these trichostrongyle parasites, which is what we are interested in looking at, very effectively at a pretty high sensitivity. So now I've got 3 grams of sample in my cup, and then to that I will be adding 14 mils of distilled water. And we use 14 mils because the test tubes that we are using hold about 15 mils, and we found that typically we can get at the end of the protocol, we can get the diluted fecal sample into that tube pretty to where it's almost to the top in most cases if we're diluting it out. It also allows us to dilute this 3 grams into to make a pretty weak solution that will pass through our cheesecloth. Now what we're going to be doing is passing this solution through just normal cheesecloth, and we're using a centrifuge, or sorry, a funnel that will fit into this tube. And we looked around and found a convenient funnel in order to do that. And so now I'm just going to pass that through, pass that into the cheesecloth, and I'm going to just add just a little bit of water to get the last bit of fecal material in. And in the meantime, the solution is passing through, and it's giving me plenty of space in order for that fluid to fit into. And so now we can let this set for a few minutes, and most of that solution will pass through that. The other way that we can do it to kind of hurry the process along a little bit is that we can twist around the clean edge of the cheesecloth and then kind of twist it and hold it down, the bowl part of it down, and push on it just a little bit, and then squeeze out that fecal material. And at that point, then our cup and our stick and our funnel and our cheesecloth are no longer necessary. We can either wash or throw those away. And now what we're going to do is simply add a little bit more distilled water to bring the volume up to just about to the top of the centrifuge tube. We're going to then snap this cap down, and now we are ready to centrifuge it. And we're going to be using just a clinical centrifuge that is in which we're able to control the speed of the centrifugation, and then this is a swinging bucket centrifuge that is designed to allow the fecal material to be pelleted to the very bottom of the tube. As always, I need to make sure that the centrifuge is balanced, and since I'm only going to be doing one sample today, I will then put just some distilled water in another centrifuge tube at the same level in order for that to be balanced. At this point, I'm just going to then turn the speed up, and we will be centrifuging this for about 10 minutes at about 2,000 revolutions per minute. So the centrifuge tube has been centrifuged, and so remember now the solution that the eggs was in was just distilled water, and so the eggs and fecal material would then simply be centrifuged to the bottom of the tube, and you end up just with dirty water in which the soluble, the aqueous soluble fecal material would still be left in that. And so we dump that off, and now in the bottom of the tube are the eggs. Now what we want to do is to get the eggs to float above the surface of the next solution. What we're going to be using is essentially a saturated solution of sucrose. Well, when we make this up, we use a hydrometer to measure the specific gravity, and we try and add enough sugar to water in order for the specific gravity to be about 1.25 or 1.26, somewhere in that range. Now when we add that solution, and I'm going to do that right now, it will cause at least some of that fecal material to go up towards the top already, but there's a pellet at the bottom. And so what we typically do then is just fill it up about halfway full with this saturated sucrose solution, and then we vortex that for a couple seconds until that pellet has been vortexed up into the sucrose. So now we have the fecal material up in the sucrose. Then what we can do is we can add more sucrose, and we're going to fill it up to about the top, about similar to what we had for the water level. And now what we're going to do is we're going to centrifuge this tube for several minutes, for 10 minutes, similar to what we did for the water, and that will enable the fecal material that's heavier than the sucrose, heavier than a specific gravity of 1.26, to then be pelleted to the bottom of the tube, and then that allows, and what we know is that the eggs are lighter than that, and so they will over time float to the surface of the solution. So let me go ahead and put those into the centrifuge, and we're going to balance that as well. And so we will centrifuge this for approximately 10 minutes. So once you've centrifuged the centrifuge tube a second time, this time with the sucrose in place, then the next step is to fill it up to the very top. And in fact, what you're wanting to do is to add enough sucrose so that the level of the the sucrose is almost ready to spill out. It's forming kind of an inverted meniscus up at the top. And then what you can do is just very carefully add the cover slip to the slide, or sorry, the cover slip to the centrifuge tube, and you're just going to float that on top. And it's okay if there's an air bubble caught under there. The main thing is just to get it so that it's sitting down on there evenly. And then you're just going to wait the 30 minutes or an hour, depending on protocol, and then you're ready to look at it. So once the eggs have had a chance to float up to the cover slip and stick to the cover slip that's sitting now on top of that tube, then and usually the protocols will tell you at least 30 minutes for them to float. An hour is really a better time frame. And then once that's done, then all you have to do is to pull the cover slip off the top. And you want to just carefully do that. And then you can put it on the microscope slide. And what you're wanting to do is to let the cover slip touch on one side, and then drop it on, and the eggs will then stay underneath the cover slip. And so you can see now the slide is ready to observe.